the past 2 days, we have somewhat managed to get inspired and remember the Buddha. To a certain extent, we have heard the words such as impermanence, dukkha, shunyata. Some of us may have managed to contemplate a bit and also meditate. This is something so wonderful, and it's something that is worthy to be remembered and repeated. Because in today's world, we don't speak or hear enough of truths such as impermanence, anxiety, uncertainty, interdependent, love and compassion, so on and so forth. But as everything, as Buddha said, all compounded things are impermanent, this gathering is also impermanent. From tomorrow, many of us will go back. Some of you may remain here. Some of you may never come back. And some of you may come back again and again. And when you go back, you will have lots of things to do. You have home to clean. You have vegetables to chop. You have job. You have bosses to agree with. There's so many things out there in the world that will entangle you. Because that's how the world is designed. The world is designed to entangle us. Right from the start of the kindergarten, everything we do is to entangle us into more and more of our distractions. So it is possible that you will lose this festive and sort of a kind of this sort of a celebration mood. And yes, you may forget this. And trying to remember this is probably difficult for us in the midst of all this. Because to remember such kind of a celebration, such kind of a remembrance, such kind of sadhana, you need discipline. And discipline is difficult for us because only time I think we human beings like so-called discipline is when others have it. I think the reason why we don't like discipline is it has this sort of it is something to do with the routine. It's like an unvarying or habitual method or a procedure that you need to sort of, I don't know, impose on yourself, so to speak. And especially disciplining oneself to admire and dwell within the truth, such as impermanence, is so difficult. It's easier for us to pick up a new discipline of web browsing, such as it's really difficult to habituate ourselves to think about impermanence, think about, dependent arising, think about how things are illusory. So, most of us may not be able to remember this. Yes, of course, there are some who has dedicated their life to just do this. Remember the Buddha, remember the Dharma, Sangha, remember the truth. For those, we rejoice and we pray that they live long, because they will be the upholder of the Dharma in the future. Of course, it is good. It will be so good if we can sort of continue, keep this mood and, sort of a feeling of celebration, this sadhana in the sort of essential, from the essential sense. But as I said, there's a lot of challenge. In our life, we have all kinds of sensations, all kinds of feeling. When we go through painful sensations, unpleasant sensations, maybe at that time, we may remember this celebration. We may remember this sadhana. Because when we go through the painful or unpleasant sensation, we panic. We become hopeless. We get tired. We get, we get desperate. And we will always look for a solution. But even more difficult, when we go through the sensation of bliss, then to keep on remembering this celebration, this sadhana, this mindfulness is difficult. And from the Buddhist point of view, actually, even more than the sensation of pain, the sensation of bliss is dangerous and deceiving. It, in fact, is the much more vicious so-called dukkha, because so-called bliss or the happiness that we have in the samsara is totally subject of uncertainty, impermanence. Now, if the sensation, sensation of pain and suffering and sensation of bliss is difficult to sort of recognize and acknowledge and have the motivation to untangle from it, how about the neutral sensation? We go every day, most of the time, we go through the neutral sensation. And this neutral sensation is also going to distract us, is going to bound us. But to celebrate and to do the sadhana, to remember, as how we have been doing these past 2 days, actually it's quite easy. All you need to do is, from one point of view, it is very easy, because all you have to do is to be aware and to be mindful. The moment you are mindful and moment you are aware, you have already celebrated. You have already done the sadhana. But again, I like to say, for a lot of us, it's difficult, because not only we are already prone to getting distracted, there are just endless things that keeps on being produced that will distract us. From a stationery shop all the way to the Gucci shoes, there is always a new distraction. We are very, it's almost like not to be distracted is unbearable. I was thinking, if we, all human beings, can apply the discipline of no distractions, a minute a day, by every human beings, the economy will collapse. The whole market will collapse. So I think we, as a human being, we are more concerned that we will end up not getting we may end up, not having any place or gadget or reference to be distracted. We love to be distracted. We love so much to be distracted until we get numb. For instance, we look for friendship, which is just another way to be distracted. Because if you don't have relationship, friendships, companionship, then you have no, you don't know how to be alone, how to be bored, and how to love the loneliness. So this boredom, this loneliness, of course, is unbearable. So we are constantly calling for mate. Using many different ways. I don't know, using a special shampoo, a special color hair dye, or pretend that you like espresso, or even speak squeaking. But here, you have to, there's a really one good news here. And this is slightly complicated. I don't know how to put this into sort of understandable phrase. Our mind, this consciousness, this mind that we have, actually, by nature, it is not distracted. It's such an irony. It's such a paradox. Mind actually functions as an awareness. Mind, the only thing that mind does is aware. So the nature of the mind is awareness. But the habit of getting distracted is also there. But it's not really the nature of the mind. So sometimes, even though there is so much distractions in the world, the nature of the mind, because it is non-distracted, that character, that nature, that non-distracted nature gushes out. It sort of leaks out sometimes. It's a bit like like a water. You can sort of camouflage a water. You can wrap it with a lot of, clothes or tissue papers or whatever. But because the water by nature is a moisture, it's going to dampen things. So the mind, the character, the quality, the essence of the mind is awareness. So even though we have so much distractions and we are trying to constantly numb us with all kinds of gadgets and all kinds of rituals, that naked awareness of the mind gushes out. And when this nature, this sort of awareness, cognizance gushes out, most of the ordinary people don't even know what to do. Actually, I think a lot of people also not only don't know what to do, they go through some sort of a pain. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do with this, sort of innate awareness that constantly wants to know. I guess this is what the German philosophers, they call it existential angst. There's this thing, what to do? So then there are people who slash their wrist with blade because they want to feel. They want to sort of experience, they want to feel it. We then, we listen to sad songs. That's like the most ridiculous thing to do, listening to sad songs. Why would you want to be sad? But that's what we do, because there's this cognizance. We watch horror movies. We eat extreme foods like wasabi or chili. But many of these methods that we use to numb ourselves, numb this awareness, gets worn out. So, amidst all this gadget of distraction, what I want to say is it is possible to keep this mood and the feeling of celebration when you go home. You are going to go home, you will have a lot of things to do. And for this, I'd like to share a technique before we are part today. For those of you who are not necessarily following the path of the Buddha, I want you to keep this mood of celebration or festival or even the sadhana by choosing an object, whether it is a form or a sound or even a taste or a feeling. It doesn't have to be holy. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It can be a sunset. It can be a piece of rock. It can be a dead leaf. It can be your fork, spoon. Whatever comes in your mind, or whatever is in front of you, whatever you see, the first thing you see, wherever it is, it doesn't have to be in a very serene place such as the temple. It can be in your toilet. Wherever, whenever, if you can choose one object, such as door handle, as you are rushing out to buy grocery. Look at this door handle and remain there looking at it for at least 1 minute. And while you are looking at this door handle for 1 minute, if your thought is going to the 7-Eleven, the shopping list, etc., try to come back to the door handle. Or even better, if you are web browsing, let's say you are doing the Facebook, why not choose the letter F and look at this letter F for 1 minute? And if you really want to browse the other parts, don't. Just look at the letter F for just 1 minute. We are talking about as short as 1 minute. As you do this, what happens is the object that you get distracted ends up becoming ally. Like a fire and the wood. If you know how to use the wood, more wood means more fire. But if you don't know how to use the wood, then fire can die. So choose an object. It could be a sound. It could be like noise like this. And this is something that any one of us can do. And on top of that, if you still want to do something extra, try to acknowledge and educate yourself that everything is your projection. Everything is your opinion. You know, like in the expression, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Basically, whatever you are seeing, hearing, whatever you are deciding, it is your projection. As simple as it sounds, if you can really understand what it means, that is just my projection. If you can really comprehend this, you will begin to understand the world of illusion more and more. And this, even though I put it in this way, is basically the shamatha and the vipassana practice that can be done by everyone. And by doing this, when you remain, for instance, on the door handle for 1 minute without a distraction, it is the Buddha. You are remembering the Buddha because you are not distracted. This is also remembering the Dharma because you are not distracted. You are remembering the Sangha because at that time, okay, see, when you are not distracted, you are not judging. When you are not judging, that is the seed of the compassion. And that is the Buddha. When you are not distracted, chances of you misinterpreting, when you are not distracted, chances of you judging, having a wrong view is much less. And that is the Dharma. And when you are not judging, when you are not distracted, and we are not even talking about a holy object, we are talking about a door handle or a fork or a tissue paper or anything. During that time, as short as it may be, you are not contaminated, you are not corrupted by your emotion. At that time, you are a holy person. And that time, you have become a Sangha. So through this, you will be doing the sadhana. So this is something that I wanted to share to those who are not necessarily following the Buddha Dharma. But for those who are following, those who have taken refuge to the Buddha Dharma and the Sangha, I like to say that whatever you do, you can do all this Buddhist practice, meditation, hearing, contemplation, rituals, mantras, mudras. But what I want to request is, fundamentally, we should admire and love and like Buddha Shakyamuni. This is the most important. I mean, using myself as an example, I have a funny feeling that soon many of you are going to misbehave. I have a funny feeling that many of you are not going to stay out of trouble, because we love troubles. I think we will be itching for troubles. We will be yearning to be lazy. And we will be eager to waste time. This is what we do. And we are prone to wrong view, or we have the tendency to like the wrong view under the banner of critical thinking. And we will feel very comfortable with the non-virtuous friends. And we will feel very irritated by virtuous friends. So it's going to be difficult to, as I said, to discipline ourselves with all these sadhanas, meditation, sitting, so on and so forth. But if you don't forget this love and admiration to the Buddha, the foundation is not lost. And I think this is important, because when you love and admire this person, you will, no matter what, you will always try to emulate, follow this person. I remember when I was growing up in a Buddhist college, there's this elderly Tibetan monk who doesn't speak much Hindi, but somehow he likes this Bollywood actor called Amitabh Bachchan. And he must have watched the film Sholay probably 20 times. And he will even try to emulate Amitabh Bachchan's voice like this. So, as we pray here, we will try to emulate Shakyamuni Buddha, his name, his entourage, his teachings, his realization. And Shakyamuni Buddha is something that is worthy to be admired, worthy to be loved. Because this is one man who have really not harmed anyone. The only thing that he did was seeking the truth, helping the others. And for the sake of the truth, he has given up everything that is worldly. In order to help us remember Shakyamuni Buddha, I'd like to announce today at this closing time that 84,000 translation group has managed to translate the Pundarika, or the Lotus Sutra. This is a very important sutra. It is now published in the reading room, and it can be read online. And the sutra will really offer us insight on our true nature of this awareness, this cognizance, this innate, non-distracting nature of our mind. So I want to share this news to all of you. Please visit 84,000 reading room to read the Lotus Sutra. And with this, I'd like to thank all of you for coming here, participating in this, and hopefully we will see you again in the next ceremony.